so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar.
The narrative surrounding Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez AOC as a potential Democratic frontrunner for 2028 has sparked intense debate, with figures like Bill Maher sounding alarms about her trajectory and the broader direction of the Democratic Party. Maher, a seasoned commentator known for his sharp critiques, has been vocal about what he sees as a pattern of self-sabotage within the progressive wing, particularly with AOC's rise. His concerns stem from a mix of her polarizing rhetoric, inconsistent policy positions, and a broader ideological disconnect that he believes could lead the Democrats toward another electoral disaster, much like the fallout from Kamala Harris's 2024 campaign. The argument is that AOC, while charismatic and capable of drawing crowds, risks alienating the broader electorate with her approach, which often prioritizes performative outrage over substantive leadership. This critique, echoed by Maher and others, paints a picture of a party struggling to balance its progressive ideals with the practical demands of winning elections in a deeply divided country. AOC's statement that so many people in this country hate women encapsulates the kind of hyperbolic rhetoric that critics argue fuels division rather than unity. It's a line that grabs attention but risks oversimplifying complex social dynamics, alienating those who might otherwise engage with her message. Maher's response, laced with his characteristic sarcasm, likens her to a party guest who kills the vibe with a guitar, implying that her approach is more about disruption than constructive dialogue. His broader point is that loving America means embracing its people, not vilifying half of them based on ideological disagreements. This sentiment resonates with a growing frustration among voters who feel that the Democratic Party, under the influence of figures like AOC, is drifting away from the concerns of everyday Americans. The critique of AOC's political style often centers on her media presence, which blends fiery speeches with social media savvy. She's undeniably skilled at capturing attention, whether through Instagram live sessions or viral debate moments. However, critics argue this comes at the cost of clarity and coherence. Her economic takes, such as claiming low unemployment masks the reality of people working multiple jobs to survive, have been met with skepticism. While it's true that many Americans face financial strain, her framing often lacks nuance, ignoring data that shows the U.S. economy, for all its flaws, has historically lifted more people out of poverty than any other system. Her critiques of capitalism, calling it a system that won't always exist, clash with the reality that it's the engine behind much of America's prosperity. This contradiction, bashing the system while thriving within it, fuels perceptions of hypocrisy, as Maher and others point out. Maher's warnings about AOC are not just personal, they reflect a broader concern about the Democratic Party's trajectory. He sees the party chasing shiny objects like big crowds at rallies, mistaking enthusiasm for electability. He references Bernie Sanders and AOC drawing festival-like crowds, comparing it to a Coachella appearance that's more spectacle than substance. The real test, he argues, is who shows up on Election Day, and he's skeptical that AOC's brand of politics can translate into broad electoral success. This skepticism is rooted in recent history, the Democrats' 2024 loss under Harris, which Maher predicted would fail due to similar missteps. He's now sounding the same alarm for 2028, warning that AOC's leadership could lead to another car crash in slow motion. AOC's media missteps have only amplified these concerns. Her interviews often oscillate between bold proclamations and confusing tangents, leaving even supporters puzzled. One day, she's advocating for massive spending programs. The next, she's criticizing the very institutions that enable her platform. This inconsistency undermines her credibility as a serious contender, with critics arguing she's more addicted to the spotlight than prepared for it. Her policy rants, while passionate, often lack the depth needed to address complex issues like economic inequality or public safety. Instead, they come off as sound bites tailored for viral clips rather than actionable plans. This perception that she's more about vibes than vision has led to a growing sense that she's torching her own momentum. The broader issue Maher highlights is the Democratic Party's obsession with what he calls woke theatrics over practical solutions. AOC's rhetoric, like her claim that America is inherently hostile to women, feeds into a narrative that paints the country as irredeemably flawed. This resonates with a segment of the progressive base, but alienates moderates and independents who still believe in America's potential. Maher points out the irony. While AOC and her allies decry systemic issues, they often ignore the progress made. Women in the U.S. have more rights and opportunities than in most parts of the world, from voting to leading major institutions. By framing every disagreement as evidence of oppression, AOC risks pushing away voters who see her as out of touch with their daily struggles. This disconnect is particularly stark when it comes to patriotism. Maher argues that the left's tendency to treat love for country as a form of bigotry is a losing strategy. He cites statistics showing that only 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 are proud to be American, with many expressing embarrassment. This anti-American sentiment, amplified by figures like AOC, contrasts sharply with the views of everyday Americans who still value the nation's core principles: freedom, opportunity, fairness. Immigrants, in particular, embody this perspective, risking everything to reach a country that offers a chance at a better life. Maher's frustration is palpable. The left's constant critique of America's flaws ignores the reality that it remains a beacon of hope for millions worldwide. AOC's personal narrative also comes under scrutiny. She presents herself as a working-class hero from the Bronx, but critics note that her upbringing in Yorktown Heights, a comfortable suburb, tells a different story. Her bartending experience, while relatable, is framed as a gritty struggle when it's a common reality for many college students. This branding, recasting a typical middle-class experience as a revolutionary origin story, feels more like marketing than authenticity. Her real name, Sandy Ocasio, and her polished social media presence further fuel perceptions that she's playing a role rather than embodying genuine leadership. This cosplay politics, as critics call it, prioritizes image over substance, leaving voters questioning whether she's truly equipped to tackle national challenges. The Democratic Party's broader struggles exacerbate these issues. Under Biden, the party faced criticism for its handling of economic challenges and public safety, with his exit from office described as a confused shuffle rather than a triumphant departure. Harris's tenure as a candidate only deepened the chaos, with speeches that failed to inspire or clarify. AOC, rather than bridging this gap, seems to be doubling down on the same divisive tactics. Potential alternatives like Gavin Newsom or Tim Walz face their own challenges. Newsom's scandals and Walz's perceived pandering make them unlikely saviors. The party's base is hemorrhaging, with voters drifting towards centrists, independents, or simply opting out of the process altogether. Maher's core argument is that the Democrats are alienating their own voters by prioritizing ideology over practicality. AOC's focus on identity politics, anti-capitalist rhetoric, and performative outrage risks turning the party into a caricature of itself. Her refusal to engage with opposing views, dismissing tax breaks as racist or border control as xenophobic, reflects a broader trend of ideological rigidity. This approach doesn't just push away moderates. It undermines the party's ability to address real issues like economic stability or crime. Voters, Maher argues, want solutions, not slogans, stability, not lectures. Without a course correction, the Democrats risk not just losing in 2028, but facing a political blackout. The irony is that AOC's critiques often ignore the tangible benefits of the system she condemns. Capitalism, for all its flaws, has driven unprecedented prosperity, innovation, and opportunity. Immigrants, who risk everything to reach America, understand this better than most. They're not fleeing to socialist utopias. They're chasing the chance to build a life through hard work. AOC's anti-capitalist rhetoric, delivered from the comfort of a system that's elevated her to prominence, rings hollow to those who've lived under failing regimes. Venezuela, Cuba, and the Soviet Union serve as stark reminders of what happens when ideology trumps practicality, economies collapse, ambition is stifled, and hope fades. Ultimately, Maher's critique of AOC and the progressive left is a call for perspective. America isn't perfect, but it's a place where progress is possible, where rights are protected, and where opportunity exists for those willing to seize it. The left's obsession with tearing down traditional values, dismissing patriotism, and vilifying dissent risks alienating the very voters they need. AOC, with her undeniable charisma, could be a transformative figure if she channeled her energy into uniting rather than dividing. But as it stands, her approach, more spectacle than strategy, threatens to lead the Democrats into another electoral disaster. The question isn't just whether AOC can lead, it's whether the party can learn from its mistakes before it's too late.